Welcome back, Truth Seeker. September 27th, 2017, the Jesuit Orders birthday. And look at who else's birthday it is today. Let's just go there, just so we can verify. It is Google's birthday. They're saying it's their 19th birthday, which I personally find interesting. But just so you can see, it's September 27th. Can I get that clear? There we go. September 27th, 2017. It's the Jesuit Orders birthday. And as we find out, Google's birthday as well, which just makes way too much sense that Google has the same birthday as the Jesuit Order. And before we get to that, I want to make the point about them turning 19. This company, if they truly are 19, was invisible for the first 3 years of their existence. And I'm the generation to remember this perfectly because I was in high school, graduating June 2001. And I learned about Google later that summer. You know, some of the more computer illiterate people I crossed paths with that summer, and they asked me if I'd heard about Google. That was the big thing to them. You know, nobody else was talking about Google, but these guys were all into it. Talk about how great it was, how awesome the search engine would be. That was the first time I ever heard about Google. And when we were in school, there were 2 search engines recommended. I mean, for every time we used the computer, they said use Yahoo or Alta Vista. There was never a mention of Google. You know, Google did not exist. Nobody had ever heard of Google. That was 2001. And again, I found out about them about this time in 2001. That's 16 years ago. So what was Google doing the first 3 years, you know? Remember, Google is your government. Google is not a private company. See, this is what people don't understand about America. Your whole Wall Street, you know, your whole Fortune 500 companies, almost all of them are your government. You know, you hear about socialism and communism and all these different forms of government, fascism. Our government is all of those things. You know, there's no separation between Wall Street and government, and your own news, which mostly misinforms you, has been trying to clue you into this for the past 20 years. I mean, there's been several stories about how politicians and congressmen and people high up in federal offices and federal departments are crossing right over to Wall Street, back and forth. Government, it's about controlling you. The economy is about controlling you. This consumerism society, it's all about controlling us. And remember, at the beginning of this nation, where the nation's capital now stands, it was once the Catholic colony. That's why DC's between Virginia and Maryland, Virgin Mary. The Jesuits, they are the Masonic order within the Catholic Church. Today is their birthday, and today is Google's birthday. Now think about what the Catholic Church and the Jesuits are about. They're about mind control. They're about control. You know, the Catholic Church has been government and religion throughout history and the places it's been. And look what we do. We still hold up the Pope and keep all this focus on what's going on with the Catholics in the Vatican. It's because this is still truly who our government is. Freemasonry runs this nation. The Catholic Church, Jerusalem, it's the heart of it. And remember what brings the Catholic Church in Jerusalem together. It's the Knights Templar, who after the Crusades took the knowledge from that land, brought it back to Europe, brought it back to the Catholic Church, and ever since that day has used the knowledge to further their control and power over this world. And that knowledge is Kabbalah. That's why we have the word the cabal for the secret political faction. You know, people know that word, cabal, but they don't know where it comes from. It comes from Kabbalah, which is knowledge that's been around for centuries to the elites. It's a mysticism that's supposed to have real power, real influence, to steer things the way you want to steer them, the way you want to control them. Kabbalah, belief that says God created the world with language by merging the letter with the number. And by knowing this code, you can become closer to the Creator. You can also, like I said, you can steer your destiny. You know, you can make prophecy happen. These are the beliefs associated with Kabbalah, which is very well known within the Catholic Church because the Knights Templar brought it there centuries ago. So here we go. Google, it's their birthday. They say they're 19. They're calling this thing that they have up on the screen a surprise spinner. I just noticed that surprise spinner sums to 95 like spinner. And Google does this with all their Google Doodles. I mean, this is the Kabbalah language. Today leaves 95 days left in the year, the date of their birthday. And when I think about 95, I always think of Baltimore. Baltimore has the gematria of 95, which used to be in the Catholic colony, Maryland, Virgin Mary, Virginia. Something up with 19 or 95 that I still don't understand. Over the years, a lot of people said, Zach, do you know more about 95? I'm doing a lot of decoding and this number's coming up huge. And to me, I still haven't cracked exactly what 95 is about. But it's clear it's something. There's a reason that the Jesuit Orders' birthday comes on the day that leaves 95 days left in the year. Again, this language of Kabbalah, it's all synced up with what's going on up above. That's what it's all about, bringing it all together. The stars, the planets, the sun, the moon into a language. And it's all ritual, it's all tribute, it's all mathematically thought out. You know, it's not a cheap code. But at the same time, it's a code that you can learn to understand and appreciate as simply as I teach it, as I've been teaching it. So here we are, Jesuit Orders' birthday, September 27, 1540. I want to show you what's going on with the Jesuits today in the headlines. Ignatius of Loyola, who founded them, sums to 75, the exact same as Catholic Church, New World Order, Order out of Chaos, Order Alone, all 75. We talk about that number. Also, the 231, that's the 21st triangular number. Jesuit alone has the gematria of 21 like Bible. 201 is a lot like 21. If you put the saint in front of his name, it's 78, just like Jesuit, like Scottish Rite, like Genesis, where the 78th verse is knowing good and evil. As above, so below equals 78. Holly noticed something too, with them claiming it's their 19th birthday. Overlap there, very interesting. She's only been around here for not that long, and she's gotten really good at decoding. And you know why? Because she actually does it. So many of you say, Zach, I like the work, but I'm not good at the decoding. You know why you're not good? Because you haven't tried to do it. There's only one way to get good. Before I knew about this knowledge, I didn't even know how to do anything. I just started taking notes and applying my time. And think, the gematrinator didn't even exist back then. I had to do everything by hand. I did everything by hand to start, to figure out the patterns. Now you guys got the gematrinator, you can do this stuff in seconds. That's how yesterday in a half hour, I decoded the entire 26 club of rock and roll stars who were all murdered by the same code. You know what I mean? Because gematrinator. Before that, when I first started that decode I did yesterday, threw up that video, I mean, that's something that would have took me a whole day when I began. But I've been doing this for going on 5 years now. And I got good because I do it. That's the only way you get good at anything in this world. All of you who make the excuse and say, I'm not good, it's because you're not trying. And don't try, do. And do it until you get good. You can get good at anything in this world. That's something about us. So many people say that. They say, I'm not good at that. That's because you haven't practiced. For example, I'm horrible at singing. I've never practiced singing. I've never had a singing coach. Maybe if I had a coach and I practiced for a long time, I could get better at singing, you know? Everything we're bad at, it's because we haven't attempted to get better. And of course, there's such a thing as natural gifts and being blessed. But all of us, we can get good if we want to. You know what I mean? You know? So more on this Jesuit thing. You know, I've been explaining, the Catholics, the Jesuits clearly run the world of collegiate and professional sports. And we just build the instant after instance. And then what was funny, I felt like I was having real power last year because all of a sudden the Pope came out and he gave 3 speeches last year having to do with professional and collegiate sports and how people need to support them and how important they are. And I thought, wow, I'm out here exposing how the Catholic Church is secretly running the world of sports. Now you got the Pope coming out. Last year's Super Bowl 51 was 51 days from the Pope's birthday, the first time the Pope ever talked about the Super Bowl, and that was his 3rd time addressing professional sports within a year. I wish the videos were still up. Some big fat sports reporter from Toronto wrote an article making fun of me. Guy that looked like Jabba the Hutt from Star Wars, literally. Could have been his stunt double. Big fat slob making fun of my work. Oh my God, and then it was the same day that the Catholic Pope was talking about supporting pro sports. Oh my goodness. But anyway, speaking of the Catholics running sports, Look at who's in trouble today on the Jesuit Orders birthday. The very Catholic Rick Pitino, who's now the coach of the Cardinals. You know, the Catholic symbol, the Cardinals. Just talking about how on Monday Night Football, the Cardinals were playing, getting these big Catholic tributes. Catholic date numerology, which is exactly why the Cardinals were on Monday Night Football this past week. Everything is by this code. But anyway, Rick Pitino, basketball, which is the most Jesuit-controlled sport of all, because you look at almost all of these people that make it to college basketball, NBA, almost all of them went to Catholic high schools. Almost all of them. And a lot of them Jesuit. Overwhelming. I mean, it's undeniable. So here's this Catholic guy that's always looked like a gangster, right? That's the thing about Rick Pitino. He's always looked like he's in the mob. That's what he's known for. The guys on ESPN even joke about it, you know? And look, going down in the FBI scandal. Do you know what this all is? This is all a public show. And a lot of you who follow my work just don't understand my work at all. You think I'm just decoding these numbers for nothing? I'm explaining to you everything through the TV is theater. Rick Pitino's not in any real trouble. You know, this is to create the perception that, you know, there's somebody out there watching and they're making sure these games are legit and there's no corruption. This is all bullshit. The whole thing is corrupt. That's why they do this. So many of you just don't get it. I mean, when you guys start leaving the comments, people, I don't even want to go down and show the comments. People talking about, finally, some justice. This is not justice, morons. This is news by the numbers, manufacturing the fake perception. Rick Pitino is fucking an old man. It's time to retire. It's time to enjoy life. His time of being the puppet, you know, being the great college basketball coach, it's over. His name, Rick Pitino, equals 65. He just turned 65. By the way, Christianity 65, same as Knights Templar, who brought the Kabbalah to the church. This is how they do it. This is how Rick Pitino, you know, this is how his career ends. This is how he gets to enjoy the rest of his life. The day he dies, when we get that headline, he'll have been murdered by the numbers. This is the way it works. This is what's going on in the world. Speaking of the Catholic Church, go look up the 33-day Pope. Murdered on the date with the 44 numerology. Kill equals 44 like Holy See. By the way, Rick Pitino coaching at Louisville, the Cardinals. Remember, Louisville equals 46. Big number in Muhammad Ali's death. Muhammad Ali grew up in Louisville, died last summer. Then out of nowhere came the 19-year-old college phenom that has, guess what? Muhammad Ali's birthday. Who went on to win the Heisman right after Rashaan Salam, the Muslim, was murdered in a park. Remember, Rashaan Salam was murdered? I was already saying this kid's going to be the Heisman. The Rashaan Salam murder showed us that, yes, the Louisville quarterback with the same birthday as Muhammad Ali, who's from Louisville. Plus, they had a 19-mile funeral procession for Muhammad Ali in Louisville just before the football season began. Then you got this 19-year-old phenom that was clearly born in a test tube, you know, easily winning the Heisman. Again, Catholic Church is running things by a code. The Freemasons of the world are. The heart is Jerusalem, the Vatican. Remember these things. Louisville, sums to 46 like Catholic, like religion. Parkinson's is 46. Muhammad Ali equals 42, number stamped all over black people throughout history. He got his Parkinson's at 42. He was born in 42. I put out a video in 2014 why he would die at 74. He died at 74 because Muhammad is 74. So is Jesus. So is cross. So is killing. It's not hard to see who knew the kill code from the beginning. You know what I mean? It's all from the Bible. Just think about it. Catholic Church controlling what's in the Bible. Everything that's done in this world. You know, we get these stories once a year about how the Catholic Church is hiding some book of the Bible that should be in there. They have this information that should be in there. All of this stuff is a test to see just how dumb people are. I mean, how can you still be religious? You realize a church is withholding books and controlling information. I mean, why do you believe in that? So anyway, moving on. I want to show you all of the Jesuit tributes in collegiate and professional sports today. This should make it very clear that I'm 100% correct. The Catholics are running pro sports. And really, that should already be very clear to the whole world. You know, it's sad that people have not seen the content I put out. Before the college basketball tournament began this year, 2017, I explained why North Carolina would beat Gonzaga, why it was their year as the Jesuit school. I showed before the tournament began why the Carolinas would do so well in the tournament. Remember, you had that smaller Carolina school upsetting a lot of bigger teams. You had the women's team winning in Carolina, the Gamecocks, but throughout the tournament they were referred to as the Ladycocks. Before the tournament began, I explained very clearly why I liked North Carolina over Gonzaga, why I liked Carolina schools to do well, and I said it was all about how the big news story was the bathroom bill, about who can use the bathroom in the Carolinas and its connection to sports. Remember, the NBA moved their All-Star game out of Charlotte over the bathroom bill. Then it was back in the news as the tournament was beginning. And then you had the Ladycocks winning the tournament and that term being used, Ladycocks, while you have a debate about who can go in the bathroom, men, women, or transgenders. Very obvious mocking. It's very obvious who it's from. When the tournament began, I said watch for the number 71 in this tournament, as well as 93. Both of those numbers came up huge. Remember how many 71-point wins there were? There were a lot of people who left comments that said, this was the first time I ever called the score of a basketball game before it happened, because it just kept happening. Just like how when the NBA finals started, the games kept finishing with 113 points, like I've been educating about 113 and dishonesty and the rigging of things for years. So anyhow, college basketball, the most Catholic face of it all, Rick Pitino. This is how he's going to retire. He's 65 years old. Rick Pitino equals 65, like Knights Templar, like Christianity, who waged the Crusades for the Catholic Church. This is how Rick Pitino retires. They do this again and again. The people who are a part of this gang, they are puppets, and they have to be used to steer the minds of the masses. Rick Pitino, he looks like he's some criminal violating the rules of the NCAA. But no, again, it's just to form that false perception. This entire thing's a rigged show by the numbers. Always is. Rick Pitino is just an actor. You know, he's just an actor. Slicking his hair back like the crime boss. Now, speaking of mobsters, here's what's in the news. This is CNN sports story for today, September 27th, 2017. Look at their sports story on the Jesuit Orders' birthday. I've been explaining the Catholic Church, the Jesuits, the Masons in high places. They are the real mafia of this world. It couldn't be any more apparent. You know, in all your mob movies, who's the boss at the end? A Jewish guy. Just like it's Jewish people who created the Catholic Church as controlled opposition within the religion that they created to rule over the Goyim. Christianity, clearly a product of Judaism. You have to be blind not to see it. Your Messiah's Jewish. You know, in the beginning, the Messiah Jesus said that, you know, feeding a Gentile was the same as feeding a dog. You know, he doesn't waste his time on Gentiles. They're no different than the animals out there. But then, of course, Jesus, his opinion changes. He starts to love everyone. But it's just so obvious. I mean, who created this religion? Who created this middleman to God, you know, for the gullible? All of you who think you need to believe in Jesus, you're just believing in the Goyim thing created for you to rule your Goyim mind. There's no middleman between you and God. You know, there's the Jewish people who claim to be God's chosen people and the rest of us lessers. And then there's all of you who fall into these false beliefs created for you by these same people who've given you the nonsensical stories from the Bible to the news your whole life, to these rigged sports games. These are the people who are after the control of the mind. They run the Catholic Church. But check this out. From got, like, you know, Gotti. From got to goat, Joey Bosa's impending stardom has no limits. Chargers equals 43, so does goat, which is very important to Masonry, riding the goat. As people know, in a lot of Masonic lodges, they truly have sex with goats. You know, that's not slandering them. I mean, that's really what goes on. That's why in Hollywood, which is run by Masonry and Zionist Jews, you got that fat guy. What's his name? Kevin Smith, is that his name? Big fat slob. The only reason he's in Hollywood, the only reason we know his name, because he's born in the right family. What's he got in his movies? People fucking goats. He's trying to tell you what's going on. But again, Masonic 43, just like Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa, son of a Masonic gangster. Now he's a Masonic actor on the football field. Joseph Anthony Bosa. Look how perfect this is. He's 22 years old, 22 men on the football field, 22 chapters in Revelation, the book of fear and terror for the return of the Lord. Lord equals 22. Lord also equals 49 like Revelation, 22 chapters. But anyway, from his birthday, July 11th, to today, the Jesuit Orders' birthday, where this is the news story for CNN, 78 days. And we just covered that. St. Ignatius of Loyola, 78, who established the Jesuit Order, 78. As above, so below, 78. Scottish Rite, 78. The name Joseph and the name Bosa, also gematria of 26, like papacy, like crusade. Did you know that we invaded Afghanistan 26 days after September 11th happened? It's not a coincidence. Not at all. It's recreating history by the numbers. Those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. And those who don't know about Kabbalah won't have a fucking clue about what's really going on in this world. And that's why I share this knowledge. You know, not a Kabbalist. I didn't know anybody who practiced Kabbalah. I was just a truth seeker with a brain who was able to find the answers to what's going on in this world. It took me a long time to do it, though. I worked every day from September 11th, 2001 till I was 30, to crack this thing open. Reading, researching, paying attention, talking to people, going places, speaking out. Took a long time to figure out what I figured out. But look at this. Jesuits, Catholic Church. Look at what's in Boston's paper today. This is the Boston Globe, September 27th. Irving's flat earth claim spun the world. And notice how they emphasize spun the world. The videos I put out last year when this happened, I talked about the history of the Catholic Church and controlling information about, is the world a sphere? Is it flat? Killing astronomers. Washington Irving, the historian. Let's do it again. Spun the world in gematria. 58 and 59, just like Freemasonry. Not a coincidence. The Masonic coding is all over the false flag or the psyop that is flat earth. The flat earth psyop has Masonic coding up and down. Let's go over it again. With regards to spun the world in 58, I just want to remind that the calendar we're on, the Gregorian calendar, comes out of the Catholic Church. Zodiac equals 58, like Gregorian, like calendar, like Freemasonry, like secret society, whole bunch of other things. The current name of the Pope, Pope Francis, who's a Jesuit, who's a Masonic gangster himself. Look at his pose from Argentina before he was the Pope, with his hand hidden inside his thing on the train. Hidden hand, Masonic pose, Pope Francis, gangster. Secret society, Francis, 58. Look at this. Look at this. Let's go back here. This post is from February 17th, 2017. That was the day that Kyrie Irving came out saying he thought the earth was flat, which is exactly what the Boston paper's writing about. Think about how Boston's a very Catholic city. Think about how Boston's won the most NBA championships, 17. NBA equals 17. Catholic 71, the reflection. Boston in basketball, also both 22. Also both 85, I should mention. Basketball city, Boston. But anyway, look at this. Flat Earth Theory 223. Kyrie Irving is the guy, right? In history, it's Washington Irving that created the false understanding of the ancients. Washington Irving falsely wrote that everyone thought the earth was flat until Christopher Columbus, who was Jewish and sailed on behalf of the Catholic Church. This is false history. The point of this history is to make you think the ancients were retarded. In fact, the Greeks, thousands of years prior to Christopher Columbus, as well as other civilizations, probably the Babylonians, they say the Aztecs and Mayans had it figured out. All of these civilizations knew that the earth was a sphere, and they figured out how the calendar worked, the stars work. Then you got Kyrie Irving, this agent probably for the church, coming and recreating history. The ancients were dumb. It was a Jew who worked for the Catholic Church who discovered the Americas where native people already lived, and then suddenly everyone figured out the earth was a sphere. All of this is just bullshit history to confuse you about this world. And look, the United States of America, people who believe this stuff and who couldn't be any dumber. All they do is believe. They have no capability to think. But Flat Earth Theory 223, just like Washington Irving, here we have Kyrie Irving. And I was always talking about how 223 was so relevant to the Cavs. James, their star player, 23, Irving 223, Remember, King James, a Rosicrucian and a Freemason, connected to the Catholic Church, ruled over 3 kingdoms for 22 years. James equals 223 in Satanic Gematria. And also 223, the 48th prime. He was in Cleveland when this happened. Cleveland 48, like James, like Donald Trump who had his convention there, like Freemason sums to 48 in Hebrew and English. You see? Flat Earth theory and Irving also goes together, just like the historian Kyrie Irving is pretty much what they teach in school. You know, they teach kids bullshit, that people thought the earth was flat. That's why you have all these flat earth retards that fall for this crap. People that don't know shit about shit, but know how to run their mouths. That's where you see God wasn't perfect in his creation of us. He made it too easy to speak. You know, way too easy. So Kyrie Irving back in the headlines on the Jesuits' birthday about the flat earth. This whole thing, flat earth, is a Masonic Jesuit psyop meant to destroy the truth community. They know that a lot of people in the truth community are Looney Tunes. You know, a lot of them Christian morons, think the world's about to end every day, fall for that rumor every time it comes around. This is who that flat earth got. It got all those Christian retards in the truth community who are looking for why Jesus hasn't returned yet. It's because there's no such thing as Jesus. Jesus is the Son. He returns every day. Sorry to spoil it for you. That's the fact. Try this out. Type in Capricorn, Jesus Christ, Tropic of Cancer. Start right there. Then notice that the Greeks who wrote the New Testament were conquered in the year 146 BC. All those things I just told you to calculate out sum to 146. Then look at all these Jesus freaks walking around with their John 14:6 t-shirts. The only way to the Father is through Jesus. Yeah, go put some more money in the Catholic plate, you know, the Jew cup for God, who always needs more money. Also, Shaquille O'Neal, the big Freemason, he got in on the flat earth jokes last year. Shaquille O'Neal, 74, like flat earth theory, like Masonic. You know, Shaquille O'Neal also connecting to earth. 227, 22 divided by 7 gives us the number for pi, cycles and circles like the earth does. The perfect mathematics of this world. Mathematics has the same gematria as circle is sacred. There's a reason. There's a reason. Everything in the Bible is based in this code. The mathematics of this world, numbers are thought to be perfect just like God. And that's why they rig all these games by the numbers. I'll link all these posts down below. Until next time, true.